I get a lot of people asking me why I started leaving a legacy. Why did I start a company that really deals with planning for when you're not here? It's not a fun topic, I get that, but it's necessary and it needs to be done. Here's my story. So I grew up with 5 brothers and 2 of the most amazing parents you could ever wish for. Our parents were hands down the most caring, loving, kindest people in the world. They taught us right from wrong. They had our backs for everything. They let us learn things the hard way. They gave us incredibly amazing values in life. And they were just 2 of the best people you could ever hope to have as parents. And we were so truly blessed for all those years to have them. My parents had moved in with my husband and kids and I about 5 years ago, due to my dad having a stroke in 1985, and it just getting harder on my mom to take care of them. And so they moved in with us. And it was fantastic. They were amazing, helped out a lot. Amazing. I had lived with my parents since I was 18, and it was just so awesome to have them here and see them every day and do fun things with them, and the relationship they built with my kids. And my husband has known them just as long. He and I met in 2nd grade, so my parents he's known them his whole life as well. So it was really wonderful. And during COVID, we were incredibly careful because, my parents are older, and this is before vaccines were even available. And my dad got very, very sick, even with how careful we were. And we had to call 911. And it went from him being in the hospital to a nurse calling saying, "Great news, your dad is doing better. He'll be released to a nursing home on Monday just for some PT, occupational therapy things to get his strength back." Great, perfect. So we get that all prepared and sent in place. We get a call from his doctor that evening who had said, I don't know why she called you. That was the wrong family. Your dad is actually dying and he doesn't have long. And this was November 1st, a day before my birthday. And I know my dad, he wasn't going to die on my birthday. If he could do one final thing for us kids, it was that. And we couldn't go see him because of COVID, and he has a very hard time communicating because of his stroke. So we did get to FaceTime him, but it was really difficult because he was so sick. He was on a ventilator. It was devastating. And he just, was saying things like birthday. He was trying to get that word out, and it just crushed me because I knew he knew it was my birthday and that he wasn't going to go anywhere until after my birthday. And he didn't. He waited till November 3rd, and we got the call that he had passed away. And I can say this, the hospital was amazing. They had somebody with him at all times, so he was never alone, which just meant the world to us because you don't want to think about your dad dying alone. It's really sad. And not being able to say goodbye to him was really hard for all of us. So that was incredible for the whole family. Everybody loved my dad. Everybody who'd ever met my dad loved him. I don't think there was one person in this world who didn't love this man. He made friends anywhere he went. He was just the nicest guy, would give a shirt off his back to anybody. He was a coach. He was a leader. He was just all around that guy that was so amazing and unique that everybody wanted to be around him. He was a fantastic person and the best guy in my life to raise me that I could have ever wished for. And so it was just really sad, and we couldn't really plan a lot because of COVID. We couldn't plan a funeral or anything like that. So just trying to figure out where to bring him, what to do, the next steps was really overwhelming. And, it's hard to do that when you're grieving. And while my parents had great intentions, they didn't have a lot of things planned or put in place. And so the next day, my mom woke up saying her back hurt, and it was just really painful, and she didn't understand why. And I took her blood pressure, checked her pulse was bad, her oxygen was bad, she was going downhill quickly, and we made the decision to call 911. And you know what? The guys who were just there to take my dad were now there to take my mom. And the look on their faces was, crap, we're really sorry we're back. And I felt bad for them. They were just truly the nicest guys ever. And I say guys because it was just an all-men crew who happened to be there. And so they bring her to the hospital. My husband and I follow. We're calling people to meet us at the hospital, and my mom's just in massive pain. They're giving her tons of pain medicine. At this point, we thought it was a gallbladder or an appendix, and they took her to do a CAT scan, and they brought her back, and we're rubbing her back, and I just remember her saying how bad her ribs and her back hurt, which made them think it might be gallbladder or appendix. And we were just rubbing her, and she kind of drifted off, and I think at that point they'd given her enough pain medication where she could finally just relax a touch. And the doctor came in and he was like, well, she has a burst aneurysm, an aortic aneurysm. Aortic aneurysm sits at the base of your heart, and if that goes, it's bad news. And So that was what was happening, is her aortic aneurysm had burst, and they were talking about emergency surgery, and my mom's kind of lucid at this point and talking about how they were going to do it, the possible side effects, and it was just completely overwhelming. We're trying to wrap our heads around this. Like, one minute we think it's an appendix, the next thing we're talking about emergency surgery that she may not survive from. And I remember I was sitting next to my mom holding her hand, and she heard all this, and she just kind of smiled, and she squeezed my hand. And at that moment, I knew she was gone. I have a connection with my mom, and I'm sure a lot of you do. And you just know. I just knew. And I felt it, and I started screaming. And my husband had to pull me off of her. Nobody really understood what I knew. And then they suddenly caught on. Alarms started going off. Things started beeping. And suddenly, we were just pulled out of the room, and I saw somebody jump on top of her. And they were trying to revive her and do all these things. And it was just too late. She made the decision to go when she went. And it was just unbelievable. You lose your dad, and then now your mom, and yeah, it was tough. So things just happened very quickly after that. My husband had to call everybody who he had just called to tell about my dad, and now tell them about my mom, and everybody was so confused, and it just having to explain it, like, no, yeah, this time it's my mom, this time it's Carol, yeah, we all know it's insane. And we had gotten to the hospital early in the morning, and then all of a sudden hours had passed, and it just felt like an incredibly fast blur. And my husband and I got home to a house that they were no longer a part of. It was really hard. And you just aren't, you know that everybody's going to go at some point, but you just don't ever think that you're going to lose your dad and then your mom in 2 days. And the two people that you go to for answers for everything are suddenly both gone. And now you're trying to decide how to do everything on your own. I was left to deal with everything because my parents had lived with me, and because my dad was an incapacitated adult. I was their power of attorney. We had done this a few years prior just in case anything had happened, and luckily we had those plans in place. And because of that, I was able to do a lot more that I would have not been able to do had those plans not been in place. And but there was a lot of things that my brothers and I just had to guess on. You know, did they want to be cremated? Did they want to be buried? Did they want this? Did they want that? What kind of a service did they? I mean, you're trying to plan things for two people that you really never discussed all these details. And it took almost 2 years to get everything sorted out, their estate closed up, everything organized, taxes, belongings. You have no idea the sheer amount of things that have to be done after somebody passes away. I thought there's got to be a better way, and I started leaving a legacy. It's something that I know my parents would be really proud of, and I would trade everything in the world to have them back. But if this is anything that I can pay a tribute to them for, then I'm happy to do it. And I don't ever want to see anybody go through what my brothers and I went through and then not have any idea what to do next and have nobody to ask, because those two people that you would ask are gone. And it's not a fun thing to think about, but I've designed it in a way that all you have to do is fill in the blanks. And that way, if something happens to your parents, you have plans for them. And if something happens to you, your kids or your loved ones have ideas of what you want. That is the whole idea around this, is to help other people not go through what we did. So that's my story. Thanks for